one. Hello and welcome to the Davidthedogtrainer podcast, episode 43.
40.
No, it's 44.
44, I was going to say.
44, here we are. What's going on, Josh?
How do we get so confused every week?
It's hard to keep track of.
All these darn podcasts.
So many.
I'm good. How are you? How are you? God.
Wonderful.
This is going to be a great podcast, everybody. Jeez.
Wonderful. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah.
We got our Christmas mugs out. The shop was decorated for Christmas on Sunday.
Yep.
My house was fully decorated for Christmas yesterday. Actually, I should clarify. The inside of my house was decorated yesterday. So I still have all of my fall decorations on the porch, and our fall wreath is out and everything. Because here's where I fall into a dilemma, right?
All right.
When it comes to Christmas decorating for things. So inside, change it whenever. No big deal. That's kind of how it works, you know?
Yeah.
Get it done as soon as possible. Bring the joy. But when I'm outside, like right now, the leaves are still color changing. They haven't all fallen yet, you know? Yeah. And it's looking like they're not all going to be down for a little while still, right? Probably well past when Christmas decorations would typically go up. Mm-hmm. So, like, the fall decorations still feel like they're, like, jiving with the weather outside.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
And you can't really have fall and Christmas decorations in the same place, I feel like. That's just a little weird.
That's true. How crazy are you going to go with the Christmas decorations when it's time?
You know, I told myself last year that I wanted to decorate the outside, like a lot, like with like a bunch of lights and stuff.
Yeah.
But when we decorated the shop the other day, like I also wanted to decorate the shop more than we did last time.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of money on additional Christmas decorations for the facility.
Yeah.
And it looks good right now.
Yeah.
But there's also like a couple of things additional I need to get for there still. And I don't have any decorations for the outside of the house here. I have like one 5-foot pre-lit wreath that I put up last year. And then I have a couple of additional like wreaths and garland and stuff like that I'll put up. So I don't know. I might get 1 or 2 strands of lights and maybe do just the porch with lights or something.
That'd be nice.
We'll see.
Are you a fan of the blow-up people? I'm not.
No.
Okay.
I think that the blow-up things look a little tacky most of the time. You know? It kind of seems like an easy way out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I do like you know, like the wire things with the lights wrapped around them and stuff.
Yeah.
I like those types of things. But I just like lights. You know? I just want to wrap everything in lights.
Yeah.
And
I
have
feel
some
that.
nice wreaths.
Yeah.
And that's it.
But I feel the same about the blow-up things. They just seem so cheap and tacky, and I feel like they last like one season.
Yeah, we had a couple of them at the shop for a little bit, like not very big ones, but we had like a little inflatable wiener dog that lasted us like 4 years.
Yeah, I mean that's different. Like,
but even that, like I did think was a little like we got rid of that pretty quick.
Out.
See ya. So yeah. So what's new?
Well, you already scolded me about this, but I bought a car on Monday. I am now part of the Kia gang. I have a Kia Soul. Andy Wells is we have car twins. His is black, mine is white though.
Oh, you got white.
Yeah.
Is it like a white or is it like a pearl white?
It's metallic, so
it's got
like
the sparkles.
Sparkles.
Yep,
got some sparkles.
I like a white car with some sparkles. I do.
Yeah. It was time, even though David was like,
were those white sparkles worth that car payment?
Yeah, so far. I'll let you know in a couple months, and I'm like, ugh. But you know, it's just really, I don't know. It was just peace of mind for myself, I guess.
Peace of mind.
I was just so worried about that old little car.
Oh, yeah,
I got 9 years out of that
thing.
car. Come on.
Old thing.
I got 9 years out of her. Okay.
All
right. And then today, after this show, I am going to Tartine Bistro.
Where's that?
Rocky River.
Tartine.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
It is a new one, doing a full menu shoot over there.
How'd you get linked up with them?
They sent me an email off my website. Yep.
Out of nowhere?
Yeah.
Out of the blue?
Yep. Said they saw the stuff I did for Cloak and Dagger and they were interested. So, yeah.
Nice.
It's nice.
See, it's that little momentum.
Yeah. Dude.
It keeps going. It keeps going.
And I've been completely and utterly lacking in my Instagram and social media department.
Mm-hmm.
I looked 3 days ago, and the last time that I had posted before then was like September 29th. And I was like, I missed all of October.
You definitely screwed that up.
I screwed that up. So I started posting again. And I finally posted, the New York Times.
Mm-hmm. I did. I saw you post that the other day. I was like, why is he posting this now?
Yeah.
I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah,
that it's just because you haven't posted it.
Yeah, because I just haven't posted. But it got a huge amount of traction on that. So that's good. Mm-hmm. So now I got to keep up that momentum. But the last two posts, have been 150 likes so far, which is great on my social, especially for not being keeping up with it, So I need to just keep that momentum going now.
Yeah,
because
I would agree with it. And I've told you this before. Like, your photos are looking fucking killer, dude. Yeah. So you just got to keep on posting them.
Yeah.
Keep on posting.
Yeah, and all my good stuff.
Have you thought about? Speaking of Christmas, have you thought about doing like a holiday shoots places? I don't even know what it would look like, right? But like I'm sure some places have holiday menus, right, that you could shoot. I'm sure some places decorate their place really awesome for the holidays and stuff like that. You should just add variety. I always look at like page, like especially photography pages, and if you're in like one aspect of it, it's like at some point it doesn't get. It's not like it's redundant, but it's like, you can only post so many cocktails in a row, right? Or so many just like single food dish in a row. It's like, how do you spice that up and make it creative? Yeah. And like, I look at some of my favorite pages that I follow and how they change with the seasons, and how the type of content they post changes with the seasons and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that could be something really cool to look into. Like, you should try to get linked up with some of these Christmas pop-up bars that they do around Cleveland.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like I know one around the corner every year for Christmas time. They do around the corner, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, on like the west side of Lakewood.
Yeah, I've never actually been in there, but
you don't want to go there. But you want to go there to do photos. Okay. It's like douche central there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they do a really cool pop-up bar every year. Mm-hmm. They do that one at the Schofield downtown.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, that hotel? Mm-hmm. And then Prosperity in Tremont is like Christmas dream place. Like it's like vintage. It's like my basement, just like decked out like a Christmas bar.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's cool.
But there's a bunch of them. Like, you should try to get linked up with some of those places. Like, just that variety. Just a little pop.
I feel that.
A little Christmas time, a little holiday cheer, a little joyfulness.
I like that.
Be merry.
Be merry. Mm-hmm. Speaking of, I guess this isn't actually speaking of the same thing at all, but this guy hit me up because he listens to our podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he like used to do film stuff or something in L.A., and he's like, hey, do you want this free piece of equipment? Like, I'll give it to you or whatever. I was like, sure. And he wants to like meet up and talk. I don't know. I guess he's like getting into like thinking about being a dog trainer or something. So
he wants to get together and talk with you?
Well, I wanted to talk to him about the film stuff. Oh. So I was like, I don't know what I can tell him about dog training, but I'll be like, thanks for listening to the podcast, buddy. Like,
get him on the podcast. Have him come on.
Okay. That'd be actually an interesting one, like someone that's getting interested into training.
Also, side note here, for anybody that listens to this podcast, Josh and I are not just looking for Joe Schmo successful this person or Joe Schmo dog trainer this.
Yeah.
We'll talk to fucking anybody.
Anybody.
So if literally any of you guys that listen to this want to come on the podcast and talk about literally if you want to have an hour and a half long podcast where you could just grill me with questions about your personal dog, hit me up.
Let's do it.
We'll fucking do. I don't literally down.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That'd be so much good content.
So, yeah, just so you guys all know that. So, aside from that, everything's going pretty good. We're staying busy at the shop. We have a new trainer that started a couple of days ago. So, I guess I might as well just announce it here.
Yeah.
So, Michelle Culp, she was on the podcast, like episode 10, 12?
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
She has been training dogs for a long time, worked for a company I won't name in Akron. And she decided to join the Miracle team. So we're very excited to have her. She's been crushing it so far. And the team is still growing. You know? Listen, I mean, at this point, we're trying to put together this like rock star freaking team of just like dog training killers right now.
The Avengers of dog training.
We're the dog Vengers.
The dog Avengers
is what we are.
If you don't print that on a shirt, I'll be upset.
The dog Vengers, right? And you know, I always go back to a book I read, right? Good to Great, where they talk about one of the first successful traits of great companies is get the right people on the bus.
Yeah.
That's it. He's like,
100%.
before you worry about what those people are going to do, before you worry about if you need that person or if you don't need that person or whatever it is, he said, if that person encompasses what you think is a rock star individual that's driven, motivated, and capable of assisting you to shoot to the moon, get them on the bus. And that's what we did with Michelle. Fantastic, good trainer. And we got her on the bus. So we're excited about that.
Yeah.
Happy to have you, Michelle.
That's so cool, man. It's like such a good addition, you know?
Yeah. 100%.
Especially after talking to her on here. I was like,
yeah.
As soon as you told me that, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah.
Is she more on your one-on-one side?
Yeah.
Okay.
She is helping fill the load on the
Yeah.
one-on-one side. Because Matt has just been Matt has been basically booked out through like almost February. He was doing like 8 fucking lessons a day, like crushing it, right?
Damn,
like
yeah.
absolutely crushing it. But like so freaking busy that it's like if anything happens, it's like we're totally screwed because like he's so fucking busy.
Yeah.
Right. So this edition will help even out that load a little bit more.
Dang, you got killers out there now.
Help each other out a little bit here now.
We got killers on the team.
Aside from that, I am 10 days into a fitness regimen.
Oh yeah.
Doing training. Tracking my macros. I told Alex Mazurka the other day, I was like, Alex, I've been tracking macros for a week. And she was like, yes.
All right, wait. Before we get any farther, please announce who your trainer is so that people can look up who your trainer is. Please.
Everybody search Watson Fit. WATSONFIT. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that because it's something you have to just experience.
Just hit him up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch some of his YouTube videos.
Yeah.
He'll yell at you a lot. He'll call you names. And he'll make you want to make some change.
Yeah. He'll scare you. What do you say?
Scare you into making some change.
Into making changes.
So I've been on that fitness regimen with him.
Yeah.
He's got me tracking those macros. He's got workouts dialed in for me. I've been hitting every day. I'm feeling pretty good.
Hell yeah.
Making personal development right now.
There it is.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. What have you been up to? What have you been up to from a personal standpoint in the last like month? Where's your personal development mindset right now? Forget just working out or business or finance or this or that. Like, where's your motivation right now at?
My motivation, what? The will to live, or you're like not work or work out or whatever.
No. I mean, like not just one of those individual things. Like in general. So here's the thing, right? So like I've talked about this before, right? This is a little bit of a tangent here, right? I've talked about this before. Like when it comes to personal development for me,
Mm-hmm.
I've always gone through these waves of aspects of my life I try to focus on, right? Like
Okay.
because like if you focus too much on one thing for too long, I feel like you could definitely get bored of it and you could lose some of your drive for it. So
Yeah.
if you look at your life and you look at all of the areas you want to improve yourself, like your fitness, right? Your health and nutrition, your finances, your career or your business, right? Your self-talk, right? Like coaching yourself, all of those different types of things. You got a lot of areas of your life you could always work on. And I think if you try to focus on all of them at once, you'll do a fucking shitty job at it, right?
It's true.
But if you focus on one of them for too long, you'll completely start to neglect the other ones, and you won't be as, like, for a Dave Ramsey term, gazelle intense about that one for long enough to keep it moving at the same trajectory as, like, the first month or 2 months that you focused on it, right? So I find myself, like a couple of years ago or whatever, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I really had like some like big like personal finance goals and stuff I wanted to hit, right? Like I went all into that, right? And I got my life in that aspect in a really stable place. And I've been able to maintain that long term, right? And I'm happy with the progress I made with that, right? Then I shift from that personal side of things to business growth and goals and stuff within the company. And then obviously there's also sorts of variables and areas that I want to focus on in that, obviously. But then I'll kind of focus on that for a little bit, right? Then I kind of try to focus on the fitness side for a little bit, right? Then I try to focus on the nutrition side for a little bit and stuff like that. But every time I switch between those, typically there's something that creates the motivation for me to make that shift, right? So I guess that's overall my question is where's your mindset at as far as what are you trying to focus in on right now? What are you trying to improve on? What do you feel like you're looking at?
Well,
get deep with us.
Get deep with us. First of all, I guess I can totally understand that because last month was I geared so much towards everything that was happening with the business and photography and stuff that a lot of other things lacked. I kind of didn't go to the gym as much as I wanted to. A lot of other things kind of just lacked on the side because I was so busy. Just
Sure.
It was like I have to edit, like I have to like get this together. Like I was lacking on my social media and all that stuff. So I guess my focus now that I have time to like kind of breathe for a second is, even though I just bought a freaking car, but I really do want to get my budgeting back in order. I want to get my finances back to where it's like, okay, gotta breathe. I can breathe again, because, I had to deplete some savings to get a car,
Yeah. And some monthly cash flow now.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think my next thing this month is to get that back in order. I would like the big thing that I want to start working on because I'm on a freaking podcast is my public speaking because if you guys didn't know, I'm on here and then I get to listen to myself while I edit it because I edit the YouTube
What's your
videos.
concern with it?
I think I sound terrible.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm always like, no. Or like the beginning of this podcast where I'm like, I can't talk.
Dude, yesterday, it's funny because like I could dial it in for this because I know exactly what I'm talking about with these types of things, but it's so funny. Like yesterday, I could probably think of like 10 or 15 individual times when I was working with either the staff or clients where like I started saying something and I was like, the words that came out of my mouth were nothing. Literally were just nothing. Like it was such a jumbled mess. And I stopped and I was just like, wait. Okay, let me try this again.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but like, I think the thing is too with a lot of these different areas is how do you I was talking about like, as you shift between different subjects or different, avenues of your life and stuff like that, at what point do you decide to make that switch, right? And I think a lot of it comes down to setting, goal setting, obviously, right? So with, anything, if let's take your budgeting, for example, right? You could do it for a month, right? But if you don't have some sort of end goal for how then you could back off of it, move on to something else without it just tanking again, you're shit out of luck. And that's been my issue with like nutrition and stuff like that forever, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll get on a kick if I'll fucking work out hard as shit for like 2 months, you know? And then it's like, zoop, push it to the side. Don't do it at all. Go right back to like just drinking a lot and eating fucking pizza and eating hamburgers and stuff like that. And then I'll focus on it again in like 3 months again. You know?
I feel that.
So I think a lot of it is how do you define what that target end goal is of the stability, right? Because you need to do something really hard initially to get the momentum going. But you at some point you do need to some extent back off a little bit, right? To a point that it's stable, right? And again, I've been able to do that successfully with finance-related things, right? I've been able to do that pretty successfully with business-related things and stuff like that. But like the fitness and nutrition side of things, I need to figure out that kind of happy medium of things. And that's what I've been liking about the program that we're doing right now is it's pretty intensive, and it was very freaking hard, like for the first like 5 days, because I was like getting my body back used to doing this, getting my body back used to the type of intake I was taking from like calories and macros and stuff like that. And I'm starting to see that light at the end where it's like, again, 30 minutes a day, right? Like anybody has that, if you really break it down. Right. And then from a nutrition standpoint, I think the cool thing, we talked about this with Alex when she was on the podcast, the cool thing about like what I'm liking about like kind of the macro tracking and things like that, and is you become more aware of the types of things that you're putting into your body and what the breakdown of those things is. And you start realizing, okay, cool. It's not that I need to limit myself. I still had a beer last night, right? Like I still am able to eat good foods and stuff like that. But you realize if you want to have those things where you need to sacrifice in other areas of your day in order to not like totally like jack everything up. Right. And I think that's where everybody gets it wrong with like, they think like restrictive dieting and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my God, like, it's this like freaking ridiculously hard binge thing for 6 months. And then you go back to all the old habits where it's like, how can I create something that I don't need to then stop doing? So that's what I'm kind of liking about it. That's where I'm finding my motivation for right now. Because it's interesting, because all of the other areas of my life like feel really good right now. It's interesting how like your health and nutrition falls off when that happens. You stop prioritizing it, And it's funny, my first Zoom call with Watson Fit told me, he's like, listen, you're obviously a really intelligent guy. He's like, but you're not prioritizing your health. He's like, what the fuck is up with that? He's like, why is it the intelligent people are the ones that don't prioritize their health? And I was like, you're 100% correct. 100% correct. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But it's kind of the wake up call I need. Like I've talked before, like a lot of like pain points are what cause you to make these changes. And like in the last 2 years, like I've talked about this before, we've talked about this and stuff like that. I've gained almost 20 pounds in the last 2 years, right? Like I got super comfortable. My relationship's good. My company, everything's good. Let me just enjoy life.
Got that love weight, huh?
And then it's interesting as you start feeling down on yourself over stuff like that. Like I fell into this trap, right? Like I started feeling really down on myself and not confident and stuff like that. I noticed that affect then the other areas,
Well, for sure.
So a little tangent on personal development, obviously, but always, you just got to find time to work on yourself with these things. And I don't think that that's as crazy as a lot of people get, where it's like, well, you need to take breaks all the time. You need to do this, you need to do that. It's like, you need to just figure out with your current lifestyle, how do you make sure that you focus enough on yourself still, where your confidence then will impact all of those other successes you're trying to achieve in your life. Right? You can't help other people unless you've helped yourself to your fullest with those things.
That's true. 100%.
So
it's funny that, you said like pains, it's those pains.
There's always a pain point for things.
And I mean, it's like taking responsibility for myself for that, buying this car, it's like, that was the wake up call. Like, okay. Like, I was sitting there like going through what my payment options were. And I was like, okay, like I can make this work, but I'm going to have to like really work on my budget for this, Like, and then I really started to think, in the last couple of nights, I'm like, holy crap, I spent a lot of useless money in all these like little places, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of made me like sick to my stomach for a second. I was like, I should have way more than this right now, you know? And so I think that was that pain point for me was like, okay, it's time to get your ducks in a row over here again, you know? Because I mean, this time last year, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt good about my financial state. And now it's like, I've seen how much I've let it lax.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy because, like, I thought I was still doing really good with it, you know?
Sure.
Because, you know, you have, like, a little reserve. You got your nest egg and stuff. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, this is fine. And then I'm like, this isn't fine. You're still, like, yeah, you got money. It's like emergency fund. You're still broke, basically, dude. Shut up. You know?
Shut up.
Yeah, so you got to be mean with it.
Yeah.
Shut up. But
yeah. It's interesting. I think a lot of it also starts with like being aware of your aspects of your life. And let me zoom back a little bit further and let's correlate this to like dog training, right? Because this is a dog training podcast, not a fucking fitness podcast. Yeah. Whatever. This is my podcast.
Yeah, this is David's podcast.
My podcast. So, I think a lot of this starts with, no matter what, taking ownership and responsibility of the issues that you're having.
Yep.
Right? With your dog, right? If you're having aggression issues, anxiety issues, obedience issues, freaking potty training issues, whatever they are, right? Stop playing the victim and pointing fingers with those things, right? I'm not saying at all times there's not responsibility to be had elsewhere, but all we can focus on ever is ourself.
Yep.
Right? And all we could focus on is the things that we can actively change. And I'll tell you, in just about any area of your relationship with your dog, your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with others, if there are things you're not happy about, if you just focus on your side of it and take responsibility and ownership of all of the things that you are doing to make that problem worse currently, and you just fix those, even if the other people don't fix their side of things, you're going to see growth.
Yep.
And you're going to be a stronger individual because of it. You're going to be a stronger leader for yourself, your dog, and others, and you're going to be more successful because of that.
Yep. That's true. You know, it's so easy to blame, blame anything else but yourself. So easy. Like,
so easy.
Yeah. Oh, like the big thing for me, you know, I would always say, oh, it's been tough because, COVID and blah, blah, blah. It's like hard to get people to
the
give me
COVID
money.
excuse. That was a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. But, I mean, was I really trying hard enough during that time? Was I trying to get clients? Was I? I would go that over my head over and over and over. But it's like at the end of the day, it was mostly me.
Sure. Sure.
And it's the same thing with like the dog. Like, oh, you take your dog to a crowded park, and so there's a dog that's off leash or whatever, and
Yeah.
we've been over that before. But it's not all that other person's fault. It could be your fault as well.
Yep, there are always things. That exact situation, right? We want to blame the other person, which, listen, I will blame that other person still for that situation, right? But in a lot of those situations, I also will look at what could I have done that was more proactive to have avoided that situation. You're in a park, off-leash dog comes sprinting at you. One, is that place that you were at notoriously an off-leash zone? Right? I'm not saying legally an off-leash zone. I'm saying, do people usually go there to let their dogs off-leash? I can think of 2 places in Cleveland right now that notoriously are or were places that people would just let their dogs fucking off-leash do whatever the hell they wanted to do. Right? And guess what? If I were to go to those places every single day and walk right through that area, even though they were legally supposed to have leashes, and then get mad at all those people for having their dogs off-leash run over to me, that turns into a me problem.
Yeah, that's you.
Right? There's a little responsibility over there, obviously.
Yeah.
But I knowingly went into a situation setting my dog up to fail.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That turns into a me problem right there. Right? Did I go to a place that wasn't a notoriously off-leash zone, but I saw all the way across the field that there was some guy with his dog off-leash, and I still chose to walk past his zone without saying anything, without proactively being like, hey, do you mind leashing your dog up before I pass by here?
Yeah.
That turns into a me problem there at that point. Right? Did I, when the dog started charging at me, just say, oh my gosh, there's nothing I can do about this, and just let the interaction happen, and then a fight broke out, and then I didn't do anything to solve it? that becomes a me problem.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything to protect or defend your dog in those situations.
Yep.
Past off-leash dogs, did I go to a really public situation where everybody was going to be drinking and not paying attention, and people were going to be constantly coming up and bugging my dog when my dog wasn't ready for that? That turns into a me problem. Why did I take my dog to that situation?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, any of these situations, you could look at the personal responsibility behind why is this stuff happening? Again, it's not always all you, but what am I doing that is potentially contributing to this problem or making it worse? And can I fix those things to increase my chances of success?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the only thing you can fix is yourself.
All right, and on to the dog training here. So, special episode today, we're going to be talking about, one, a question I received on Instagram, and two, we got a blog post we're going to read about getting ready for the holidays with your pup. So,
Have you seen all the Mariah Carey like memes?
No.
Just everyone talking about like, well, you know, because that's like the first thing that happens is all I want for Christmas. Yeah. Yeah. I have to admit,
It's a banger.
it gets
goddamn
yeah.
banger.
Even if you like are the biggest Grinch, like it gets stuck in your head. You can't help it.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
And then yeah, dude, everything about that production too, like the drums. You know, you were just doing it.
It's a banger. Yeah. They played that. So at our wedding, I don't know if you heard or I told you this or not, but they played Mariah Carey, "All I Want for Christmas Is You," like right in the middle of the wedding, like middle of the reception. It comes on. Everybody's already drunk at this point and stuff. Yeah, dude, people freaked the fuck out. Freaked out. Everybody's screaming. It was the best. It was the best. That was highlight of the night.
That was your favorite moment?
That was the highlight of the night. All right. Okay, so podcast topic here. This actually isn't really a question. This literally just says podcast topic: management versus training.
Dun, dun. Got to crack the knuckles on this one.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, I don't know how deep we want to get on this. I mean, this is a topic, obviously, that can be discussed to the end of time.
Yeah.
Right? But let's define the two terms first, right? Management. What is management? Management is the issues that your dog is having, making sure you are positioning your dog where they're not able to rehearse those issues. Case in point, right?
Okay.
Puppy here, right? Obviously, puppies get into things. Puppy chew things. Puppies have accidents elsewhere. So we have him back tied right now to not allow him to rehearse any of those things while we're filming our podcast.
To manage.
Right? We are managing the problem. It's doing nothing to stop the problem. If he wasn't on this leash, he likely would try to do one of those things at some point.
Yeah.
Right? But we have him back tied to manage him to not do that. Right? Dog attacks other dogs when they socialize. Don't let your dogs around other dogs.
Yeah.
Management, right?
Yeah.
Doing nothing to solve the problem, but if you do that indefinitely, you'll make sure you're managing your dog not attacking other dogs.
Yeah.
Right?
I see.
Dog attacks people, having them on a muzzle anytime they're around people, right? Doesn't do anything to solve the problem, may still try to attack people, but makes sure that person doesn't actually get bit. Management. Right? So anything that you need to do, dog jumps on guests when they come over.
Yeah.
Have the dog on a leash, hold the dog down with the leash to make sure they can't jump on anybody. Management, right? So it's anything that you do to make sure the dog doesn't rehearse the behavior without actually solving the problem, right? Management.
Yeah.
Training, taking the individual issues that your dog has or taking things you want to teach and actually teaching those things or teaching what your dog should do or teaching what your dog shouldn't do, right?
Yeah.
So let's break down the examples I used, right? Puppy has accidents and chews on things and gets into things. allow the dog to have that accident so you could interrupt it and then take them outside. Let your dog try to chew the box over there like he did over the one podcast and give a correction for that so he realizes not to do it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Dog attacks other dogs, right? Know how to properly socialize your dog, put them in that situation, and be ready to give guidance when they start rehearsing negative behaviors or when they do correct things, right? So actually solving the problem, right? Dog attacks people, obviously using the muzzle still, but when they do rehearse some of these behavioral issues, knowing how to discipline when the dog tries to do those types of things, right? Again, knowing how to properly socialize them where we can build their confidence around new people, where they have a different association with them, where they don't then attack them anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Dog jumps on people, correcting them for jumping, right? So in a perfect world, I always say, obedience commands, training, back ties, crates, putting dogs in other rooms, all those types of things. Those are all management techniques, right? And even our obedience commands, for the most part, are intended to manage our dog, right, from doing different things, right? We use bed stays so our dogs don't jump over our guests. We use sits at doorways to make sure they don't rush through the doorways. We do all of these different things to stop the dog from rehearsing these behaviors so we could then have a baseline to work with, right? But in a perfect world, I don't want to have to micromanage my dog all the time. I don't want to have to manage my dog all of the time, right? I want my dog to understand what the rules are, so as much as I can, I allow them to just go do their own thing.
Yeah.
Right? So that they understand this is right, this is incorrect, and they could just exist, right? If they're not jumping on my guests and they're not rushing out my doors and they're not biting people and they're not attacking other dogs, I don't give a shit if they lay over there or go on their bed over there or do this or do that or stay on a leash over here or this or that, right?
Yep.
I just want them to exist and know the rules, right? But we have to use management while we incrementally work through those types of things, right? I would say you can't necessarily address everything all at once. So we use management techniques while we're working on other problems. I'm using a back tie right now while I'm working on the getting into things and the having accidents and the puppy biting and stuff like that in other aspects of my day where I could have more attention on him. And then little by little, as he gets more reliable with it in the other places, I can give him more freedom in these types of situations.
Yeah.
Right? So really, that's the conversation, right? Is you use management while you're working through the actual problem.
Yeah.
Right? You don't allow your dog around other dogs while you're working on the actual socialization problem that dog has, right?
Yeah.
You don't allow your dog to be around guests if they're having issues with strangers until you're ready to start working through that issue as well.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's the topic. Now, there are situations inevitably where long-term you do have to manage your dog because there are situations where it's not appropriate for them to do things that otherwise would be perfectly appropriate. So let me give you an example of that, right?
Okay.
When I go in public with my dog or I go to a friend's house or something like that, if I take my dog, I manage my dog almost 100% of the time when I'm in those situations, right? Because even though my dogs may be allowed to greet my guests in my house. They may be allowed to come on the furniture in my house. They may be allowed to run and play and do all those things in my house. It would not be appropriate for me to go to your house with my dogs and just let my dogs do all of those types of things.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going to correct them for those things because they're not wrong to do them. I'm allowing them to do them elsewhere, but I'm going to manage them utilizing my training because in that situation, I'm deeming it as something that they're not allowed to do. Right? They need to focus on me. They don't need to be doing all of these things that they would be okay doing, right? But are not appropriate for them to do in that situation.
Yeah.
Right? When I go to a store, right? I'm not going to obviously let my dog off leash or let them sniff on everything that they want to sniff in the freaking pet store, or let them sniff all of the light bulbs and stuff like that as we're walking through Home Depot. Because that's not appropriate for them to do them there. They're not doing anything wrong by doing so.
No.
But there might be somebody that has dog allergies that goes and buys that thing. There might be whatever, any number of situations where having a dog lick something or slobber on something or whatever would be inappropriate.
Yeah.
So I keep them under control in that situation.
Yeah.
Right? So moral of the story, management. You're making sure the dog doesn't rehearse the behavior without actually stopping it. Training, you're actually teaching the dog what's appropriate and not appropriate.
Yeah. So,
Very gray question, obviously.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the topic.
yeah. But at the end of the day, you want to use both.
You want to use both, but you want to err more on the side of training, obviously.
Yeah, because we have the same thing.
Yeah.
When we go to her grandparents, he's not allowed on the couch, and he knows that now.
Yep.
He goes in there, doesn't even think about it. You know.
Or let me give you another example, right? I've talked about this before, right? Like when our 83-year-old grandmother comes over, right? Kate's grandmother, our dogs running around like they normally would in their day-to-day life is dangerous.
Yeah.
They could trip her, right?
Yeah.
They could knock her over, something like that. So we manage them. We use our bed stays. We use our down stays. We don't really have them free walking around and stuff like that. Not because they would be doing anything wrong if they were doing that. There's nothing to correct for, but I need them to not do that in that moment. Right?
Exactly.
So we manage them to make sure that we don't run into that problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's pretty much it. Pretty
That's
straightforward.
good though. Yeah. I never thought there would be like a management for training topic. You know.
Okay, let's move on to the meat and potatoes of today's episode. All right, so holidays coming up here. We've talked about this before with Halloween. We made a Halloween video on our YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago where we were just discussing things to do and not to do, obviously.
Yep.
If you're having guests come over or having parties, things like that. So I want to break this down a little bit more because obviously as we're coming up on Thanksgiving, as we're coming up on Christmas, as we're coming up on New Year's, these are typically a lot more big of a deal than Halloween or anything like that.
Yep.
So I did a quick Google search looking for articles we could read and discuss on helping your dog during the holidays. And I actually stumbled across one from Canine Cohen. So this guy, Jason Cohen is his name. He's from the Brooklyn, New York area.
Oh, okay.
I've never met him personally, but I do know him just through the internet and stuff like that. So I stumbled upon it. I was like, oh, perfect. I know he's a balance trainer, right? He's a pretty well-respected guy in the New York area, does good work and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so we'll kind of discuss his blog post a little bit here and see what we like and what we don't like.
We've talked about him a couple times.
Have we?
At least you and I.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we talked about him before.
Cool. All right, so he's got an article he wrote called A Guide to Help Your Fearful Dog During the Holidays. Set your dog up for success when bringing them home for the holidays. So, before we start this, I think one big note to keep in mind is holidays are one of the number one places we see issues happen, right? Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's hanging out. Nobody's paying attention to the dog. We're drinking. We're eating. You know what I mean? Like it's like anytime these situations just get loose like that, your chances of issue just completely shoot up.
Yep.
Right? So before we even start this, and I'm sure we're going to discuss this, but know your dog before the holidays, right? If you have absolutely any inkling in your mind that your dog is potentially going to be a liability, get overwhelmed by the situation, try to bite somebody, ingest things they shouldn't and get really sick, just put them away, board them somewhere, use a crate. You know what I mean? Like if you have family coming over, there's going to be a bunch of kids or dogs staying at your house, stuff like that, just get them out of the house. Just don't worry about it. Manage the situation, right? Fight that fight another day.
Yeah.
It's okay. I do that with my dogs.
Yeah.
I don't let them out typically on the holidays unless it's at the end of the night where everything's really supervised and the energy levels calm down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? Again, they'd be fine in those situations, but I manage them to avoid the risk.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this.
All right.
Bringing your dog to meet your family and friends when you go home for the holidays can be one of the great moments together. But if you have a dog that is fearful of new environments and people, please understand it can be a very challenging and stressful event for them. Here's a guide to set both you and your dog up for success. The trip. Traveling to your destination can be stressful for your dog. Prepare ahead of time to acclimate your dog to the trip, whether it's by car, mass transit, or plane. The morning of the trip, do not feed your dog unless you are leaving in the evening. Since some dogs get sick, it's better for them not to travel on a full stomach. If you're flying or taking a train, start feeding all meals in their travel carrier beforehand. If needed, play crate games in it. Do not travel with your dog in a plane's cargo. If they are too big to be carrier, I feel it is not worth the risk for a short trip. So, please bring or have at the travel destination. Crate and any bedding they normally have. Dog bed, preferably a raised cot for the living room. multiple Kongs to stuff and freeze, tasty fillings for the Kong, such as canned soft food, peanut butter, yogurt, or pumpkin filling. Star Mark has a great selection of mentally stimulating, interactive feeders and chew toys as well. Natural chews such as bully sticks, frozen marrow bones, tasty treats to reward good behavior. So here's the thing. A lot of this right here, right off the rip, is just breaking down management. Now, I would say all of this is contingent on you knowing your dog, right? If your dog doesn't get car sick, they have no issues with traveling, you've done this before with them, don't worry about this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't apply to you, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a dog that ahead of time has never flown before, never traveled on a train or anything like that before. Obviously, he's in New York, so he's talking transit and stuff like that, which this does apply to some people, obviously. Get them prepared for it. One thing I used to do with dogs that I knew were going to be on planes or flying on planes for the first time is I would get them on the RTA here, right? So I would take them on the RTA, put a service dog vest on them, make them hold it down, stay in there. And a lot of times that starting, stopping, the constant shaking, the quick acceleration and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's about as close to getting on a plane as you can get, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one way to get them kind of really acclimated to those types of things.
Yeah.
Definitely use rewards when they're on it if you want to, but also just know your training, right? Regardless of how you're doing the training, make sure that you have the communication established to keep their attention off of everybody else in there and keep them focused on a task. I use a downstay anytime I'm in those types of situations. So traveling, keep it in mind, obviously.
Yeah.
The arrival. If possible, arrive at your destination before the rest of the guests for an easier transition. Once you arrive, give your dog a long walk with plenty of time to potty, smell, and explore the environment, weather permitting. If dogs live at your family or friend's home, have them put away in another room or crate and make sure all dog toys, chews, and food are not out. See the other dogs section below for more information. So the arrival, whenever you get where you're going, so assuming you're going somewhere, obviously you just want to stimulate your dog's mind a little bit. I don't know about necessarily letting them go sniff around all over the place, but yeah, let them relieve themselves, let them get everything out of their system, do some training with them, get their brain acclimated to the new environment, get them focused in on some tasks, drain them down a little bit before you go in so the energy level isn't all hyped up. The decompression. Give your dog time to take it all in slowly. It's important to let them just be and have time to smell and explore the new environment and get to know you and their surroundings, on leash and supervised, of course. While your dog is exploring and sniffing the new environment, ask any nearby people to just sit and ignore your dog until what? Please do not have your family hug or approach you at this point. Next, bring your dog to the room you're staying in to create a quiet, calm space for them to decompress in their crate. This will become their safe place and help them adjust from the trip. Once the crate is set up, feed them their meal in it. Now you can go and spend some time with your family and friends. So go again, all of this is under the assumption that you're going to a new place. So if you're going somewhere with your dog, yes, once you get there, once you get them mentally stimulated, put them away. I don't know if you need to let them explore the whole house by any means, but you do need to take them in, take them to their spot, let them know just because we're here, we're not getting all excited. You're not going to be greeted by all of these people right now. Just go chill in your crate. And for a lot of dogs, they're going to stay in that crate most of the time, and you're going to take them out for walks, and you're going to take them out for a little playtime, and then you're going to put them back in it. And for a majority of your trip there, you're not going to have them out.
Yeah.
All right, the talk. If you have a dog that is fearful of new environments and people, it's important to let people know. Tell them about your dog and let them know the best way to interact with them. One good way to explain your dog's behavior is to compare them to someone who has just dropped off into a foreign country where they don't speak the language or customs. It would make sense that it might take some time to adjust. I even like to compare a fearful dog to an introvert, which many people understand and can relate to. The biggest mistake many people make during the holidays is to give their dog too much too soon, such as too much touching, talking, and affection by everyone. It's best to give them time to take it all in. So, listen. The talk that you need to have with your family is just you explaining what the rules are.
Yeah.
You don't need to get into the specifics of why your dog is the way that they are or why they need to do these things.
No.
You just need to have the conversation of, listen, if I'm going to have my dog out, this is what I expect out of you.
Yeah.
It's my dog, and you need to abide by these rules. You can say it in as nice of a way as you want to, obviously, but don't work around or beat around the actual point of, I need you guys to just ignore my dog when he's out. I will handle him. Assume that, like we're talking about, assume that responsibility beforehand of I know my dog. I know what's okay and not okay with them.
Yeah.
And when they are out, I will handle keeping them under direct control under all times. And I will let you guys know if it's okay to interact with them at that point.
Yeah. That's the hardest thing of this whole article.
Communication is everything.
Yeah.
And being confident enough to communicate those things, especially with family and friends, is so freaking important.
Yeah. Even Aunt Judy.
Who's Aunt Judy?
I don't know. Just that one aunt that's like, oh, you know, to your dog, and your dog's like, ah.
The place to be. Set up the dog's place bed next to where you're sitting on the couch. I highly recommend using a raised bed or cot to set your dog up for success. My favorite brand is 4 Legs for Pets, seen in the photo here with the badass Brooklyn Animal Rescue alum, Simon. You don't, okay. Whatever you want to use for your place bed is fine, guys. You don't need to count for it. You could use whatever you want. A lot of people, frankly, like in these types of situations, they'll get those little like thin mats that they could like roll up and put in their bag. They'll grab a freaking big, thick blanket, fold it up a little bit, slap it down.
Yep.
Whatever you want to use for it is fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that. A lot of reason why people recommend the cots is because they say they're a more stable position, obviously. Just because it's a visually clear thing to the dog. But as long as I don't use them at my house. I don't use cots, right? I use regular dog beds. And you just have to set your criteria of what that command means.
Yep.
So in the case of your place command or your bed command, a lot of people don't like regular plush beds because they can kind of army crawl off of them. But that just means you need to set a more strict boundary.
Yeah, I was going to say.
On the bed, you need to make it with those types of things. You know, you can hang your paws off if you want to, but the elbows need to stay intact on the bed.
Yeah.
If they're not intact on the bed, you're going to get corrected for it. And as long as you're consistent about that boundary, they will figure it out just as well. Once everyone is settled in and relaxed, you can bring your dog out. This is after a potty walk and then onto their place bed. Remember to have your dog's leash on at all times so you can guide them and prevent any bad choices. Have your family and friends ignore your dog. If things go well, you can add more interactions as long as your family and friends are willing to participate in the training session. If you have not taught your dog the place command, there's a video tutorial. Be mindful. It will take time for your dog to understand what's expected of them. If you don't have all of this training established before your holiday situations, don't do it. Don't try to do it. You're not going into the holidays going to train your dog.
Yeah.
You're going to use your training to manage the dog, or if you don't have your training, you're using your other management techniques like leashes, back ties, crates, stuff like that to manage them without that training, obviously. Treat every time your dog is out as a training and counter conditioning session. Enjoy your time with your family and friends. Have conversations while marking and rewarding all good choices. Examples of this are things such as people getting up and moving around, opening and closing of doors, cabinets and refrigerators. Look for any of your dog's known triggers. If your dog is comfortable, they can stay out longer. The goal for them to relax and fall asleep while in place. Oh, that's his video. Ooh. Okay, so when your dog is out, basically the point of all of this with the place command, right? Is that you?
You.
I think that's you. What are you doing?
Where's it at?
Bro,
I don't know.
it's you.
It's not even saying it's playing.
Bro.
What the fuck?
Jesus. So the idea here is when your dog is out, we're using this time to get them acclimated to their new environment. Now, again, this is another article that talks a lot about, we talk about counter conditioning in the past. You can do it if you want to. If you want to do things to keep your dog's mind occupied on other things, you can, right?
Yeah.
But the goal of this is regardless of how you do it, we're allowing the dog to coexist before we allow any interactions.
Yeah.
That's why we use place commands. That's why we use down commands, is we want to we talked about socialization before in the past, obviously. We want to environmentally socialize our dog first. Yeah. We want to allow them to get used to the new place they're in. Mm-hmm. And because there's 3 types of socialization, people, dogs, environments, you only can work on one at a time for it to be most successful. Mm-hmm. So if we're in a new environment, we need to environmentally socialize the dog and allow them to just get used to being in that environment until they are 100% comfortable in it before we allow any sort of people introductions, before any dog introductions, any of that kind of stuff. So next, the signs. Understand your dog's body language is one of the most important things as we humans can do to help them. Dogs can't tell us in words what they're thinking. So once we learn how to understand their body language better, a whole world of communication with our dogs opens up, and in turn, we can have a better relationship. It's important to understand that dogs have 4 responses to any stressful situations: fight, flight, avoid, and acceptance. Dogs will rarely learn to accept without our help. We ask so much of our canine companions. Help them feel safer and more secure by guiding, protecting, and teaching them during these stressful times. So basically, understand if your dog is getting past threshold, right? Yeah. Again, whether that be an environmental threshold that they're just too spooked, they're too uncomfortable, and they're too nervous. At that point, just put them away. Don't worry about it, obviously. Yeah. If that comes to interactions, if you start noticing your dog is getting too overstimulated, too nervous, or showing any sort of signs of anxiety or depression, aggression, depression. If they're showing depression, they're showing depression.
If your dog's seeming depressed,
yeah, same deal. Put them away. Right. Again, the moral of all of this story here right now is during the holidays, if you're going to have them out, know your dog best. If they're going to potentially have any issues, if you want to try to do some training, if they have training established to help condition them to that environment, that's fine. But give them plenty of breaks when you start noticing they're getting past threshold with it. Children. Ooh. If they're going to be children celebrating the holidays with you, it's imperative to teach them how to interact with dogs appropriately. 77% of dog bites come from a family or friend's dog. Please have all children watch the I Speak Doggy video before the holidays, and do not leave your dog unsupervised with children for everyone's safety. Let me give you guys another hard rule to set here. Damn. This is in general, right? So this is going to be a clip. You ready? Start clip.
Okay.
When it comes to children and dogs, one rule that I abide by, and I teach 100% of my clients, is that if the child is not either your child or a very close family or friend's child that your dog will be around very frequently, I'm talking weekly, will be around, there is absolutely never a situation that your child needs to interact with that, or that your dog needs to interact with that child.
Yeah.
Right? It is not worth it. Right? Dog bites that happen to children, regardless of how severe they are 10 times perceived more extreme than dog bites that happen to people.
Yeah.
That is one of the number one places that we see dog bites happen is kids around dogs. And even if your dog is the most social butterfly in the world, kids are different than adults.
Oh, yeah.
They act different. They sound different. They look different. They do different things, right? Yeah. And no matter what the dog is, that can make that dog uncomfortable potentially.
Yeah.
So no reason for it. Do not worry about having your dog around other children.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, it's like as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
If you're out on the walk with your dog and a kid's like, "Hey, I want to pet your dog." No.
Yeah.
If you're at the park, kid goes, "Hey, can I pet your dog?" No. You go to a family friend's house, they have a kid. "Hey, can I pet your dog?" No. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
There's no reason why it needs to happen.
No. Too much of a liability.
Too much of a liability.
Don't do it.
End clip.
End clip.
Little 60-seconder right there.
There it is.
Put that on Instagram. Make a reel out of it. All right. The other dogs. Please understand that many of our family and friends' dogs might not have any obedience training or be crate trained. They may even have their own behavior issues. Keep all this in mind when bringing your dog into their home or with other visiting dogs. When it comes to introductions to other dogs, it's best to take the time to have proper dog-to-dog meetings as explained in this guide, and take everything slow and advocate for all dogs. The video above is from a combined training session with a dog, Finn, and a zoo. The goal is to do a proper dog-to-dog introduction. It's so important to take the time to do a proper introduction, as well as to advocate and listen to what both dogs are telling us. If you are unsure, please have a professional trainer help you. This is a process I use, and hope this video can help others learn how to have proper dog-to-dog introductions. Can't read again. Okay, so when it comes to other dogs during holiday situations here, or forget holidays for a second. When it comes to other dogs you're introducing to, if you're going to have a house guest, if you're going to be staying with somebody else, we talked about this in the case of Meshk's owner that asked a question last podcast.
Yeah.
If you're staying somewhere, you have to make sure that you give the dogs plenty of time apart from each other. And if you're going to be introducing them to each other, it's for short periods of time in a very controlled and specific way.
Yeah.
If the dogs have not had any issues with dogs in the past, that's fine. Make sure all of your resources are away. Food, toys, affection. Don't have them out, right? Put your dog into that situation. Have them drag a leash if you want to. Drop the leashes. Let them interact with each other and just supervise. Allow that supervision to happen. Allow them to engage with each other, interact with each other. If you see any sort of negative behaviors you don't want, you can give a correction for it if the dogs have training, and then end on a positive note. Whenever your full supervision is going to go away because you're focusing on something else, put the dogs away and do it again later.
Yeah.
Then put the dogs away, then do it again later. Whatever you do not have the dogs out together at all times. Mm-hmm. Don't try to push it for 3 hours. Don't try to push it for 4 hours because you will get distracted. And when you get distracted, an issue will happen.
Mm-hmm. Always.
That's other dogs. The stay. If you're staying one place for multiple days, you should see your dog and get more comfortable as time goes by. It's still a good idea to keep advocating, marking and rewarding good choices, and be sure to continue to manage your dog by putting them away during stressful moments. Help your dog warm up to your family and friends by asking them to join you on walks. The time it takes for your dog to get comfortable can vary. Depending on your dog's behavior, the key is to take it slow and advocate for your dog in the long run. This will help build a better relationship with your dog. So, he's correct. As the days go on, your dog will get more comfortable as long as you're following these rules. Mm-hmm. But just because they're getting more comfortable doesn't mean you stop following these rules. Yes. These rules are imperative to follow for the duration of your stay. Yep. These rules are imperative to follow if you have a house guest come stay that has dogs. Mm-hmm. These rules are imperative to follow if you go anywhere with your dog. That's going to be a new situation. Manage it. I mean, a lot of this comes down to, like we were talking about, managing your dog in those new situations to make sure if you know they have this issue, or that issue, that you can ensure that issue doesn't happen during the course of your stay there so that you could work on it another time.
Yep.
We just basically summed up that last question with all of this. So that's pretty much how this goes.
Yeah.
There's really not much more to it. I mean, it's a pretty simple little article that he wrote, which is good. It's got some good points in it, obviously. Moral of the story here is if you're going to be having people come over your house for the holidays, like I said, know your dog.
Yep.
Know when to have them out. Know when to put them away. Don't overwhelm them too much. And as long as you do that, you shouldn't run into a whole lot of issues with it.
Don't feel pressured to get outside of that.
Yes.
You know?
I would agree. That was easier than I thought. Any last points you think as far as the old holidays are concerned, Josh?
No, that was good. I was just glad that you put that little summary there. You know, if you have people coming into your house, know your dog. That's the big thing. Is know your dog, know the limits. Don't let your grandma, your aunt. Where's the dog?
Where's the dog?
Yeah, he's in his crate.
He's chilling.
He's chilling right now.
He good.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't get pressured to bring him out when you think it'll overwhelm them.
That's right. So. And like I said, worst case scenario, just board your dog somewhere. Like I said, I don't screw around with that kind of stuff. Like I have nothing to prove or no reason to feel like I need to have my dogs out like while a ton of people are over.
Yeah.
Just in general. Forget the holidays in general. If we're having a party or this or that, they don't need to be a part of everything.
Yeah.
They get plenty of enrichment and engagement elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I mean, if you're really going to be, like, if you already have that feeling that you're going to be stressed out, don't do it. I mean...
It's a good point.
Why
if
would
you're already stressing it, don't do it.
Yeah, like, you're not going to have a good time. You're literally going to be thinking about your dog half the time while you're trying to enjoy yourself.
It's true. And listen, I mean, there are definitely times where it's appropriate to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, but in situations where you're going to be distracted doing other things, it's not the time, right?
Yeah.
Now, listen, if you were to tell me you're already stressing and being uncomfortable about potentially taking your dog to the store or potentially taking your dog to a busy park and stuff like that, you do want to push yourself out of that comfort zone from time to time, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to focus on the situations it's going to be appropriate to do that in.
Yeah.
So, pretty simple. We think, Josh, anything else?
That was good.
All right.
I like it.
Well, we're going to wrap that up on that.
Alrighty.
Podcast 44. Here we are.
Here we are.
Josh?
Josh Dobay Productions and JoshDobayProductions.com.
You can find me at Miracle Canine Training or David the Dog Trainer. Hit us up on YouTube. Hit us up on Instagram. Ask us more questions. We'll keep reviewing topics. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.